What really happened with D4D and the case of Celeste Rivas? Why was a girl found in the trunk of a Tesla linked to the rising star? The internet is buzzing with questions. Did D4D get charged? Was there a police chase? What went down during that house search? From shocking D4D allegations to wild speculation about his lyrics, this story has everything. Fans are even Googling, how old is D4D? As if his age might hold the key to unlocking the mystery. But here's the thing. The deeper you look, the stranger it gets. We're talking canceled tours, police silence, tattoo clues, and a fan base split in half. By the end of this video, you'll see why people can't stop asking if this is just a tragic coincidence or something way darker. And hey, before we dive in, hit that subscribe button. Don't worry, subscribing here doesn't put you on a police watch list. It just makes sure you're in the loop when stories like this explode. The entire story erupted when a Tesla, sitting for weeks in an impound lot in Hollywood, gave off a smell so strong that employees finally called the police. When officers opened the car's front trunk, the frunk, they made a horrifying discovery. Inside was the body of Celeste Rivas Hernandez, a teenage girl who had been missing for over a year. That detail alone shocked the internet. This wasn't some random car abandoned on the side of the road. It was a Tesla registered to D4vd, real name David Burke, the same singer behind viral hits like Romantic Homicide. At first, fans tried to rationalize it. Maybe the car had been stolen while he was on tour. Maybe it wasn't connected to him at all. But once Celeste was identified, that defense started to crumble. People immediately began asking, how does a missing girl end up in the trunk of a musician's Tesla? And why had the car been parked for so long without anyone noticing? Authorities confirmed it had been abandoned in the same spot for weeks before being towed, meaning Celeste could have been inside the entire time. From that moment, everything about D4vd was thrown under a microscope. His music, his past interviews, even the smallest details from old performances suddenly took on a new and unsettling meaning. And yet, as disturbing as that initial discovery was, things only got stranger once fans started digging into the personal connections between Celeste and D4vd. After the shock of Celeste being found in the Tesla, the internet turned into a full-time detective agency, and what they uncovered only fueled the fire. The first thing that blew up? The tattoos. Fans noticed that both Celeste and D4vd had the exact same tattoo on their fingers, the word shh, inked in a delicate script. Old photos quickly surfaced online, showing Celeste flashing the tattoo, and side-by-side comparisons were made with shots of D4vd's hand. Suddenly, this wasn't just speculation. To many, it felt like a visible, permanent link between the two. But it didn't stop there. People dug up alleged Discord messages where D4d supposedly mentioned a girl named Celeste. Whether the screenshots were real or edited is still a debate, but the buzz around them added another layer of suspicion. Then came the music. A leaked demo, not officially released, seemed to reference a girl named Celeste in the lyrics. Combine that with his most famous track, Romantic Homicide, and suddenly fans were questioning whether his songs were art imitating life or something much darker. And just when people thought the coincidences couldn't get any weirder, fans pointed out that D4d had recently been spotted with another girl, also named Celeste. That one detail pushed the internet into overdrive. People started asking, what's with him and girls named Celeste? Old interviews resurfaced too, where D4d talked about his alter ego, Itami, a criminal version of himself who commits crimes that D4d then solves. At the time, it sounded like edgy creative expression, but in the context of Celeste being found in his car, it suddenly felt disturbingly on the nose. For many fans, these discoveries flipped the narrative. What once seemed like harmless artistic quirks now looked like red flags. And while none of this made him an official suspect, it left the internet more suspicious than ever. But here's the twist. While sleuths were drawing lines between tattoos, lyrics, and leaked messages, the LAPD itself was saying almost nothing. And that silence? It just made people dig even harder. Now, here's where things get really frustrating. While fans were uncovering tattoos, leaked messages, and unsettling interviews, the LAPD stayed almost completely silent. Yes, they confirmed the basics. The Tesla was abandoned for weeks before being towed, and Celeste's body was found inside the frunk. They admitted she had likely been there for an extended period of time. But when it came to the cause of death, nothing. The coroner deferred the results, leaving it as undetermined. No answers, no closure. And the big question everyone had is D4D a suspect? Was met with even more silence. Captain Scott Williams, speaking for the department, carefully stated that no suspects or persons of interest were being pursued at this time. For the public, that felt impossible to believe. A missing teenage girl found in a famous musician's car, and somehow nobody is a suspect? Still, behind the scenes, investigators were moving. Multiple outlets confirmed that police executed search warrants at a Hollywood Hills home tied to D4D. Officers were seen seizing electronics and potential evidence. To many, that suggested they weren't as hands-off as their public statements implied. The tension only grew as weeks passed with no official charges. Fans noticed that D4D, who had been actively posting online, suddenly went quiet after Celeste's identification. His once constant presence on Instagram and TikTok vanished overnight. This gap between public silence and private investigation made everything worse. To some, it looked like the police were protecting him. To others, it was proof they had nothing solid. And in the middle of it all, rumors were spreading faster than facts. But while the authorities refused to call him a suspect, the industry was already delivering its verdict. If the LAPD wasn't ready to call D4D a suspect, the music industry and the public definitely didn't wait. Almost immediately after Celeste was identified, the dominoes started falling. First came the cancellations. His U.S. shows? Gone. His European tour? Scrapped. Fans who had bought tickets were suddenly holding on to refunds instead of concert memories. For an artist whose rise was built on constant momentum, it felt like the brakes had been slammed hard. Then came the labels and management. Promotion for his music, including the deluxe edition of his album, was quietly pulled. The streaming platforms didn't drop his catalog, but his team stopped pushing it like before. Overnight, the marketing machine just vanished. But here's the strange twist. Instead of fading away, his music skyrocketed. The controversy actually pushed Romantic Homicide back into the charts. People were streaming it again, not out of love for the song, but because they were dissecting every lyric like it was a confession note. Critics even joked that the track had turned into a murder ballad scavenger hunt. And the backlash? Brutal. Social media exploded with accusations, conspiracy theories, and non-stop threads connecting dots. On Reddit, things got so heated that moderators locked down the D4vd subreddit after accusations surfaced that he himself might have been secretly moderating and deleting criticism. Fans split down to middle. One side demanding justice for Celeste, the other defending him as innocent until proven guilty. It wasn't just about the crime anymore. People were questioning his persona, his lyrics, even his stage performances where he'd once leaned into dark, funeral-themed imagery. Suddenly, what once looked like edgy creativity was being replayed as evidence. And listen, if you've made it this far, hit subscribe. Not because I'm begging, but because unlike D4vd's tour, this channel isn't getting canceled anytime soon. The question now was bigger than music, bigger than fandoms. It wasn't just who is D4vd, it became who was Celeste Rivas Hernandez, and how did her story lead here? Up to this point, most of the attention was locked on D4vd, his car, his tattoos, his silence. But to really understand the weight of this case, you have to look at who Celeste Rivas Hernandez actually was. Celeste wasn't some anonymous name in a headline. She was a 15-year-old girl from Lake Elsinore, California, described by classmates as quiet, creative, and sometimes withdrawn. Friends said she loved music, hung out at corner stores, buying soda and chips, and had dreams of escaping her small town. But behind that, her life wasn't simple. Police records show that in just the year before she disappeared, officers were called to her home 11 times. Reports suggested tension in the household, arguments with her mother, and what some neighbors called a troubled environment. Friends claimed she had run away before, only to return home after short stretches. Her disappearance was first reported in April 2024. At the time, it didn't spark nationwide headlines, just another missing teen case that slipped through the cracks. Flyers went up, local searches were made, but weeks turned into months, and eventually, the case went cold. For more than a year, Celeste's whereabouts were unknown. Her family, however, never stopped searching. At one point, her sister even went to a liquor store to ask for surveillance footage, hoping it might show Celeste passing through. That level of desperation showed just how little progress was being made officially. When news broke that she was the girl in the Tesla, her hometown held a vigil. Friends and neighbors gathered with candles, some crying, some furious that it took over a year for her to be found, and in such a horrifying way. To them, she wasn't just the girl in the trunk. She was a daughter, a friend, someone who deserved a future. And yet, even with her backstory out in the open, the mystery only grew, because the question haunting everyone was, how did Celeste end up inside D4vd's Tesla? With the facts so limited and the LAPD refusing to call anyone a suspect, the internet did what it always does. It filled in the blanks. And the theories? They range from chillingly plausible to downright wild. Theory A, D4vd was directly involved. This one is the loudest online. The argument goes like this. Celeste stopped communicating with friends around late July 2025, right before D4vd's tour was supposed to start. His first 3 shows were mysteriously canceled, and the tour didn't kick off until August 5th, 6 days late. To conspiracy-minded fans, that timing feels way too convenient. The theory suggests that whatever happened to Celeste may have taken place during that window, before he left Los Angeles. Theory B, someone else used the Tesla. Supporters of this theory point out that Teslas are essentially rolling computers. They can be borrowed, loaned, or even hacked if you're tech-savvy. The idea is that someone close to D4vd, maybe a friend, maybe someone with access, used his car without him knowing. That would explain how Celeste ended up in the trunk while he maintained his alibi of being on tour. Theory C, coincidence and overconnection. This one's less dramatic but still important. Maybe the matching tattoos weren't unique. Maybe the alleged Discord screenshots were faked. Maybe the Celeste lyric was just a name pulled from thin air. In other words, the internet could be guilty of seeing patterns that aren't really there. After all, people love turning coincidences into clues, even if they're unrelated. But then we have the wild cards, the details that don't neatly fit into any box. That unreleased demo track supposedly referencing Celeste, which leaked online around the same time the story broke. The alter ego Itami that D4vd once described in interviews as his darker, crime-committing persona. In hindsight, fans are questioning whether it was just creative fiction or something more revealing. and the Tesla itself. By design, the Model Y can send alerts if the trunk is left open for too long. Some media reports claimed D4vd might have received push notifications if the frunk was opened. But here's the catch. Those alerts have to be activated manually in the app. Nobody knows if he had them turned on. Each theory has holes, but none of them can be fully dismissed. And that's exactly why this case refuses to fade away. Every small piece of information fuels another round of speculation, and every unanswered question makes the internet dig deeper. And yet, for all the theorizing, there are still massive blanks, things that don't add up, no matter which side you believe. By now, the theories are flying everywhere. But even with all the speculation, there are glaring questions that nobody, not the police, not the fans, not the media, has been able to answer. First, the cause of death. Medical examiners still haven't released it. How does someone end up in a car trunk for weeks and the cause isn't immediately clear? That silence has only made people more suspicious. Was it natural causes, something accidental, or something much worse? Second, the timing. Why did D4vd's tour start 6 days late? Were those canceled shows just business hiccups, or do they line up too closely with Celeste's disappearance? It's one of the biggest red flags people keep circling back to. Third, the Tesla itself. Did the car's cameras capture anything? Did the app send alerts? Teslas are built to log data, but police haven't revealed whether any of that information even exists. If footage does exist, why hasn't it been made public? Fourth, the matching tattoo. Coincidence or connection? Tattoos are personal, and while shh isn't the rarest design in the world, the exact placement on the same finger is hard to brush off. If there was no relationship, how do you explain it? Fifth, the Hollywood Hills raid. Officers searched a home tied to D4vd and seized electronics. What did they find? If nothing incriminating was uncovered, why hasn't the LAPD ruled him out completely? And finally, motive. Even if you believe the darkest theory that D4vd was involved, the why is missing. No one has explained a motive, and without that, the puzzle feels incomplete. So here's the uncomfortable truth. Every fact we do have only leads to more questions. Every silence from the LAPD makes those questions louder. And every day that goes by without answers, the internet keeps rewriting its own narrative. But one thing's for sure, this isn't just a music controversy anymore. It's a mystery that's unraveling in real time, and the ending hasn't been written yet. So, where does this leave us? A teenage girl, Celeste Rivas Hernandez, was found in the trunk of a Tesla linked to D4vd, one of music's fastest rising stars. The discovery set off a storm of clues, matching tattoos, alleged messages, suspicious timing, and lyrics that suddenly sound like foreshadowing. On the other side, the LAPD insists there are no suspects right now. The cause of death hasn't been released. Evidence seized in raids hasn't been explained. And while fans play detective online, the silence from both authorities and D4vd himself has left nothing but speculation. His career is hanging in limbo, tours canceled, promotions stopped, but streams climbing as people pick apart his music like a crime scene. His fans are divided, some defending him, others convinced he's guilty of something the police just haven't confirmed yet. And then there's Celeste. For all the theories, at the heart of this is a 15-year-old girl whose life ended far too soon. She wasn't a rumor or a headline or a theory. She was a real person with dreams, with friends, with a family who are now left with more questions than answers. So what's the truth? Is this all a tragic coincidence that spiraled out of control online? Or are we looking at the early pieces of a much darker story that just hasn't been proven yet? Either way, this case isn't going away anytime soon, and if history tells us anything, the internet will keep digging until the truth surfaces. Before you click away, hit that subscribe button because, unlike D4D's tour, this channel isn't canceling anytime soon. Plus, I promise you, staying here doesn't come with any creepy Tesla alerts. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think D4D is being unfairly targeted, or do the clues feel too heavy to ignore? The best theory I see down there might just get a shout-out in the next video. Until then, stay safe, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next one.